Direct from the BroskiNation headquarters in Los Angeles, California, this is the Broski Report with your host, Brittany Broski.
Hello and welcome back, broskination. We're back here on the Broski Report set. Sadly, all Victorian elements have sadly been removed. We're returning to normalcy this autumn or fall, if you're American. Hey guys. Yes, I've got rid of the Victorian set dressings, and yes, I'm devastated. It feels wrong. I need my little eyeballs, I need my teeth, I need my Edgar Allan Poe creepy skeleton painting. I need it. And this just feels wrong. But we press on! Just spit all over the fucking thing. Awesome. Guys, second Red Bull of the day, and 1 cup of coffee deep. Do you ever get that feeling that, like, you have a caveman forehead? And I don't mean physically, I mean mentally. That my brain kind of like, sometimes I feel like, what are those dolphins that look all fucked up? Big-headed dolphin. Yeah, this one, beluga. Sometimes I feel like a fucking beluga whale, bitch. Look at him. It's all swollen and shit. That's how I feel. In my forehead, I feel like it's swollen and it kind of hangs down. It hangs down over my eyes. Like sometimes from the side, I feel like it's kind of like this sometimes. Like the bulging sack that sits above my eyebrows, kind of just, it's like resting real heavy. I'm going beluga whale mode today. Can anyone agree? Can anyone sympathize? Just me? Awesome. Yeah, guys, I feel beluga sometimes. Chopped beluga and unk. I think that I have whatever the fuck it's called, cortisol, I got cortisone poisoning. I got a low cortisone poisoning in my bloodstream. Ions. Because I'm always tired. And I thought, I went to the doctor like a year ago, whatever, and they were like, you have PCOS. And I was like, I freaking knew it. That's why my pubes grow down to my knees, and that's why I have chin hair, and that's why I'm balding, as I have PCOS. Okay. And over the pandemic, I didn't have a period for a month. Okay. We're having girl talk now. Now, that all is just part of this. I just feel this way all the time. Like, I thought it would go away, and it doesn't. I just feel swollen and beluga. Anyway, we power through. So keep in mind, I'm suffering from beluga syndrome today, but I have something very exciting to talk to you guys about that I'm like, it's like, new obsession unlocked. That's how I feel. Okay, today we are diving into none other than the world famous, internationally acclaimed Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Amen, church? Amen. I need everyone listening or watching this broadcast to understand. I saw Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein with Jacob Elordi, Oscar Isaac, Mia Goth, Christoph Waltz. That movie, I'm actually going to freak out talking about it. That movie shifted something in my spirit. I genuinely, laugh all you want, okay? Laugh at the fool, but the fool is content, and you are miserable, right? You can giggle and point at the fool, but he has found nirvana. I'm the fool in this scenario. Frankenstein is the best movie that's ever been made, in my opinion! Well, maybe, right? I say that with an asterisk. As of right now, as of November 4th, 2025, Frankenstein changed my life. Dude, I literally, in the theater, so much to say. Today, we're talking all things Frankenstein. We're talking all things Mary Shelley. We're talking all things Guillermo del Toro. We're talking all things spooky story. The modern Prometheus. Okay, we're going to dive into what that means. We're going to dive into the inspirations for Frankenstein. We're going to dive into its ripple effects. And we're going to dive into some ancillary content. Okay, so let me go ahead and get Mrs. Beluga off the stage. Thank you. And let's dive in. And if you hear my gut bubbling, it's because I've had about 804 Red Bulls today, so whatever. Okay, so much to talk about when it comes to Frankenstein. Frankenstein is also referred to as the modern Prometheus, going back to the legend of Prometheus, one of the Greek titans, where Prometheus is credited to stealing fire from the gods and giving it to humanity, giving humanity tools for science and art and knowledge. He was then punished by Zeus indefinitely, which we've talked about before, I believe, strapped to a rock, chained to a rock, and every night his liver is pecked out by an eagle because Zeus takes the form of an eagle. And the liver to ancient Greeks was thought to hold all emotion. So during the day, an eagle would fly in, peck his liver out, leave him. Overnight, it would grow back. And then the next morning it would happen all again forever. Okay. That is the legend of Prometheus until eventually Heracles comes and rescues Prometheus. Now, Prometheus is also, there is a legend that Prometheus crafted humanity out of clay, which, say what you will about how that rivals the myth of the legend of Christian evolution or the Christian creation or scientific evolution versus that. All three of these they're just theories. Prometheus sculpting humanity out of clay is mainly what Mary Shelley drew inspiration from, or a modern retelling of that version of Prometheus, because this was something of intrigue to the Romanticists. This was, or romantics, whatever, that era of poetry, of Romanticism. The idea of science outpacing morality. Okay, so much to say there, because back in the Oppenheimer episode, if you guys want to go back to that one, or plenty of episodes since, I have a real fascination with and fixation on immortality and on morality behind science. When I read that passage from the Dan Brown book, Angels and Demons, that stuck with me. I read that book when I was probably 14, and I still think about it because it's still relevant. How when science progresses so far, because humans have such unlimited potential, and we've only unlocked whatever the minute percentage of brain functionality. Our brains are an instrument in and of itself that we truly don't know how to harness. And so as that exponentially increases, now we're talking about AI, we're talking about space travel, we're talking about curing cancer, things that feel so impossible. They are very possible. There is no moral guidepost that teaches you what to do with these scientific discoveries. So Mary Shelley, think about this. This is back in the 18 teens? 1820s, I believe, is when this was published for the first time. Because I believe she died in the 1830s. No, when did Mary Shelley die? 1851, and she was born in 1797. So this is probably yeah, she wrote Frankenstein when she was 18, okay? So this obsession with science outpacing morality has always been a concern, right? It's just gotten so much worse since this time period. This era of poets and of authors and of novelists, scientists, philosophers, this was a real point of intrigue for them and continued to be. So even I'll take it into when you talk about, like I said, Oppenheimer, you develop the atomic bomb, something that is capable of decimating human life to a degree and to a scale that still is like decades later, we're trying to figure out what exactly was the scale of the damage here, other than like immediate loss of life, more so like the residual health effects and things like this. No one gave Oppenheimer a book on how to morally handle this weapon, this monster he has created. So all of these stories or examples tie back into each other. I think they're all related, where humanity has to look itself in the mirror and say, what monster have I created? What atrocity have I created at the helm of innovation, right? When does innovation turn into a negative connotation, because we always think of this as like pushing the envelope, always progressing humanity forward. We're on the brink of discovery. All these things that, especially in America, are celebrated. You know, you think about landing on the moon, this thing that America prides itself on, of NASA, and just always being at the helm of human achievement. What do you do when you've achieved it and that achievement brings nothing but suffering, or is used inevitably? And this is a whole point of philosophical contention, okay? Will it always be used for destruction, suffering, and devastation? For power. It will be used, no matter how impressive or beautiful or truly stunning an innovation, a scientific discovery can be. A powerful man will find out how to use it to cause destruction and suffering. That is an inevitability. And I think that's a negative point of view that I have. But look at history. And of course, there's probably positive examples back in history, but like that is something to be considered, okay? So let's dive into Frankenstein. Because holy fuck. I just want to point out that this story was originally published in it was published anonymously. Okay, so this is the 1820s, 18 teens. Let's paint the scene. If you're not that familiar with this era of poets or of literature, if you never had to study it in school, I'll give you a little short and condensed version. There was a mess of a friend group, okay? Mess, drama-geddon. Mary Shelley, Percy Shelley, Lord Byron. I've talked about Lord Byron on here before. He's a big inspiration of mine, even though he was fucking mess. He was a shitty, horrible person, but some of his poetry is some of the best, unfortunately, to have ever existed. Say what you talk amongst yourselves, okay? Lord Byron, Percy Shelley, Mary Shelley. There was some other people on this trip, okay? This was like a friend holiday that they all took to Switzerland because they had been sort of socially excommunicated from England. They were all messy. Mary Shelley started dating Percy Shelley. They weren't married at this point. She was still Mary Godwin, I believe. Also the daughter of Mary Wollstonecraft, who is a big women's rights advocate and also an author. They start dating, okay, Mary Shelley, Percy Shelley. He's already married to someone else. Doesn't really care for her. Knocked her up, doesn't really care. Starts getting busy with Mary, okay? They kind of elope, run off to Switzerland, and they're all friends with Lord Byron. Lord Byron brings along his little physician, who's 20, okay? The legal practicing age in England at this time is 26. Okay. So he was like, I don't give a fuck. You've been a doctor for 5 years because he started studying when he was 15, this physician. I don't give a fuck. Just come with me. They leave the country, go to Switzerland. Now they also, Mary and Percy also bring along Mary's stepsister, Claire Claremont, who is another famous author. They're all at this big mansion in Switzerland and they're bored to tears. They're sitting up in the crib. And Lord Byron, they're reading this German novel of ghost stories, of spooky, scary stories. And they're discussing, they're feeling inspired. And Lord Byron puts them to a competition where he says, let's write some scary stories of our own. And whoever can write the scariest, wins. It's a competition. Well, out of this competition, we find Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. She writes what begins as a short story, turns into a full-blown novel by hand. And this story, there's so much to say. This story has and continues to be one of the most important, well-written, human stories that is a message. It's a fable. It's a fairy tale. It's a sci-fi dystopian novel. All of these things continue to be a point of inspiration and admiration for so many creatives, for anyone, anywhere. Frankenstein, to this day, is so influential, and it's important to be studied. Frankenstein, I think, is an example of literary excellence, but I wanted to make this point because I kind of had this realization to myself the other day, and it feels a little juvenile, but it's still true. I think that when it comes to like studying literature or people who do English lit degrees or anyone who's ever had to take like a British literature class in college or whatever, even Shakespeare in high school, like you see this as such a daunting task. It feels insurmountable. It feels unapproachable, inaccessible. Like this isn't for me. Okay. This is for scholars. This is for people who I don't get this. I think that once you this is a message of hope for anyone who's ever felt that way, because I've felt this way. And I love reading. I love literature. There is a barrier sometimes between like reaching across the table and saying, I understand this. Because what's important to understand is that every story that's ever been written, even the ones that are written hard on purpose, like okay, we get it, you're smart. They've all come from a human. And there is always going to be a touch of humanity to every story. That is a linking factor that I recently, because I've been, studying Frankenstein and I've been obsessed with it since I saw the fucking movie. And I just like, it's always on my mind. And I'm like, I've always thought of these stories like Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, Picture of Dorian Gray, Moby Dick, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, like Count of Monte Cristo, all of these novels that's like, these are the most famous books ever to be written. They feel so like untouchable, and that's intimidating as someone who's just like pleasure reading. But I think the older I get, the more I'm like, these were just normal people who had an idea and thought to write it down, and look at the lasting impact that it had. And it's honestly really inspiring as a creative, because it's like, I just have this idea and I have to get it out. They had no idea they were going to become some of the most famous, well-loved, most important novels in all of human history of all time. I think that as an adult, I'm like, I remember being in school and feeling like, this isn't for me. You know what I mean? Like this level of literature, this level of scholarship is not for me. This is for academics. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. These are human stories. And Mary Shelley, Percy Shelley, Lord Byron, all these people, they've become almost these infamous characters in history. They were humans. They died very tragic deaths due to natural ailments, like most of us will. Most of us do. I think that kind of, when you bring them down on this human level where they're not so different from you and me, they just lived 200 years ago. They didn't have access to, I think Lord Byron and Percy Shelley both died of fever. Like very curable things that we are so lucky to live in a time now where we don't lose some of the best creatives to ever live to something as curable as a fever. So I think that's helped me kind of break this down. And Frankenstein is not an inaccessible story. I think also because it's so fantastical, it's a bit easier to sink your teeth into. However, I didn't always feel that way. So if you've ever felt intimidated by reading something that feels a bit, beyond your reading level, try it. There are plenty of resources online. And when you finish it, feel proud of yourself. It's a feat. This was written 200 years ago. Like, take a second, sit with the material, and remember that it's for everyone. So, that being said, let's talk about it. Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein really closely follows the original book, the original text. It is a series of letters that this ship captain is writing to his sister, I believe. And in the letters lies Victor Frankenstein's story and the creature's story. Okay, so the long and short of it is Victor Frankenstein, scientist, sets out to create human life. Without a womb, without any of these things, he sets out to create and to successfully render a reanimated corpse. He's successful. But here we are again with this moral question of when science outpaces morality, what happens? He's met with this predicament face to face. You've done it. You've reanimated a corpse. What now? You have to teach it how to be human. You have to teach it philosophy. You have to teach it morality. You have to teach it how to function. It's not a baby, but mentally it is. How do you teach it tenderness and kindness and how to care, how to have empathy without turning it into a monster. Because again, it's a man, and what Guillermo del Toro really injects into this story, because like any director, you put your own lens on the story, is the relationship between a father and son and generational trauma, cycles of trauma, these sort of things. I think that the creature, because I don't care to call it a monster, right? The creature is innocence personified. That's how I saw it. I think that when you have created innocence, it is only a matter of time before that innocence is corrupted, because I don't think in this world that we have, innocence can be untouched. I wish that weren't the case. However, in his story, at the end of it, and of course I'm not going to ruin it, but there are themes of forgiveness, of how difficult forgiveness is, even when maybe they don't deserve it, offer it anyway. The relationship between father and son, the relationship of femininity to innocence and to gentleness, color. Okay, color is a big theme in this movie. He really uses red. By the way, Oscar Isaac. Oh, okay, let me talk about the fucking movie for a second. That's kind of the general structure of the story, is that it's a series of letters that details the creation of Victor Frankenstein's creature and how he escapes and the eventual, tying up of a bow of the creature story. So, Oscar Isaac plays Victor Frankenstein. Yeah. So, by the way, Oscar Isaac plays Victor Frankenstein. Y'all know that one of my favorite movies of all time is Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes. Hello, and can Guillermo del Toro do Sherlock Holmes, please? For the love of God, please. Can we just find a way? I'll help finance it. Okay? Now, I don't have the money for it, but I will find a way. I'll sell something. I'll figure it out. Just leave it to me. I think that while I'm drawn to female madness, I'm also drawn to the idea of the mad genius. Okay? Two separate ideas that overlap. It's a Venn diagram, okay? This idea of you have reached a different level of consciousness because you're so damn smart, because you're so damn tapped in. You're not here with us anymore. Or what's worse is almost on this level of fake genius, just delusion. And I think that that's a whole other Venn diagram. Okay, so anyway. The reason I love Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes is because he plays that genius, that madness so well. Jack Sparrow is probably another example, maybe. The character of Captain Jack Sparrow is so, you think he's aloof, you think he's crazy, but that motherfucker is smart. He's always scheming. He always finds a way out. He's very charming. He's very slimy. All of these qualities, I love it in a main character. I froth at the mouth for it. It's some of my favorite shit ever in storytelling. Just a charming kid. And I know I need to read whatever the fuck that book is. Six of Crows. Is that what it's called? Six of Crows. I know a lot of y'all are you would love this fucking. And I watched that TV show way back when. Shadows, Six of Crows. Yeah, Leigh Bardugo. She also wrote. What else did she write? Ninth House. And see, I didn't like Ninth House. I did not like Ninth House. It felt forced, and it felt like there was really sensitive, graphic subject matter that it served no purpose in propelling the story along. It was kind of like trauma porn. That's how Ninth House felt to me. Shadow and Bone. That's what I'm talking about. Shadow and Bone. 2012 is crazy. That TV show came out, and I liked that TV show. Cal, what's his name? Yeah, I'm into that. Isn't that his name? Six of Crows is about Kaz. Yeah, Kaz, not Cal. I'm into that. Okay, I'm into that. Hold on. I might need to tap into this. If any of y'all have read this, tell me if this is too YA. And even if it is YA, that's fine, because sometimes YA really hits. However, Oscar Isaac's portrayal of Victor Frankenstein is unlike any Victor Frankenstein I've seen before. it felt less like mad scientist and more like I believed him. He was mad. He played madness so well. And the way that it spirals out of control and to the end, it almost returns him to his humanity. Like, I don't know at what point along the way, along the arc, he lost his humanity, but at the end you return to it. And what a beautiful homecoming to humanity it is. Heartbreaking. And so, and honestly, for any conversations around Frankenstein, a lot of it will say the creature, the monster, is more human than Victor himself, which is true, which is completely true, which is true of any story of someone who has experienced oppression. You learn your oppressor. It's true of anyone who has undergone a level of trauma that almost like knocks you back a few paces. It's like you look at the world through a different lens. And that's what the creature goes through of you are hyper aware of not only the cruelty around you, but the beauty. And watching Frankenstein's creature learn the world and the small things to find beauty where usually we don't pick up on it. It made me cry. It was so good. It's going to make me cry again. It was so good. Oh, and Jacob Elordi, I'm sorry. I don't think I'd talk shit on Jacob Elordi at all, but now I'm crying over him. So that's awesome. He did such a good job. He was such a good monster. He made me cry. Why are they mean to him? Why are they mean to Frankenstein monster? Oh. Anyway. Okay. This movie is so good. Wow, I love this movie. Oscar Isaac did a fantastic job. This episode is sponsored by Rocket Money. Ever feel like your money just disappears each month? It's easier than ever to overspend. From subscriptions piling up to impulse buys after seeing an ad on your phone to ordering takeout a few times a month, Rocket Money helps you rein it in by showing you where your money's going and helping you make better decisions so you can keep your money in your pocket. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money shows you all your expenses in one place, including subscriptions you forgot about. If you see a subscription you no longer want, Rocket Money will help you cancel it. Their dashboard lays out your total financial picture, including bill due dates and paydays, in a way that's easy to digest. You can even automatically create custom budgets based on your past spending. If you've got a goal you'd like to save for, Rocket Money can analyze your accounts to find the best time each month to put extra money aside. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lower bills for you. The app automatically scans your bills to find opportunities to save and then goes to work to get you better deals. They'll even talk to customer service so you don't have to. Rocket Money has saved users over $2.5 billion, including over $880 million in canceled subscriptions alone. Their 10 million members save up to $740 a year when they use all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/BroskiReport today. That's rocketmoney.com/BroskiReport. rocketmoney.com/BroskiReport. This episode is sponsored by SeatGeek. I've been looking to find the best deal on Tame Impala tickets, which is why I want to give the sponsor of today's episode, SeatGeek, a huge shout out. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There's more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Right now, you can get tickets to Billie Eilish, Lorde, Sabrina Carpenter, Tame Impala, Rod Wave, the Jonas Brothers, Playboi Carti, and more. I love using SeatGeek. I'm a huge Tame Impala head, and I'm literally geeking to see him live, and those tickets go fast. But good news, SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, and with the holiday season just around the corner, give the gift of tickets this year and use code BROSKI2025 for 10% off your SeatGeek tickets. That's 10% off tickets with promo code BROSKI2025. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thanks, SeatGeek! The use of color in this movie is something I really want to talk about. Also, sorry, I'm from the South. I say movie. I don't give a fuck if it's a film. I don't give a fuck if it's a film. It is a movie to me. It's a movie. And I saw it at the movie theater. And I didn't see a film at the cinema, okay? I think that the usage of color in this movie it's like a little treat for an audience. And can I just say really quick, for any actual, I don't want to hear it. For any film bros, any film ladies out there, you take this shit serious, you do the journal. Okay. I'm not a huge movie goer, but I can appreciate the artistic choices made in a movie like Frankenstein. It's for me, okay? I know Guillermo del Toro is talking to me. To me specifically. It's that sort of, okay, I get it. I get that there's better movies. There's this, there's that. You like this director, then this one's actually better. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I loved this movie. This was for me. That being said, Red. The first time we see Red is Victor Frankenstein's mother, who dies tragically. There's always a dead mom. There's always a fucking dead mom. Okay, that's how these stories start. Dies very tragically, childbirth. Red, throughout the rest of the movie, kind of symbolizes, it could symbolize so many different things. And again, like I could write a paper on it. Sometimes we see Victor Frankenstein with red gloves. That could be blood on his hands. Sometimes we see it as a neck scarf around his neck, maybe something strangling him. I chose to see it as each scene that we see him in a new costume, it's a piece of his mother. That's how I chose to see it. How through all of life's cruelties and what hardens you and maybe calluses your soul, you always deep down have this touch of softness. Because humans are soft creatures. We are frail. Human life is so frail. And it's mortal. And it is finite. And it ends. And isn't that the greatest tragedy and the greatest blessing? And so the red to me symbolizes this feminine softness that as Victor goes through the rest of his life, that occurrence of losing his mother, he's never the same. And maybe that in some fucked up way influences or informs why he is so fixated on reanimation, why it's so important to him to bring someone back from the dead. This is his instigating action. This is what, for the rest of his life, is his mission. And there are a few points in the movie where I'm like, God, it's so good, where you see him kind of question, what am I doing? Like, I have lost the plot, but I'm way too far. I'm too far gone. I have to finish this. I have to see it through. What I found interesting in this version is there's no Igor. There's no Igor character. There's no, evil assistant like Marty Feldman or, whatever, this type of like crazy kooky character that's his assistant. Instead, Christoph Waltz plays the rich patron, the rich funder of Victor's scientific experiment, which is crazy because I don't know if that's in the book. It's been a long time since I've read the actual book, but I think that choice lended itself to telling this Guillermo's version better. So color, red with Victor. The creature is when we first meet the creature, he's swathed in white, almost like a baby. He's wearing a diaper. And white bandages, it's very like white is purity, white is innocence. Towards the end of the film, completely black, completely fur, black, almost like balaclava, gloves, everything is just, we see him hardened. And also through the story, we see that these pieces of clothing are acquired through maybe some trespasses that he's done, maybe things that have been gifted to him by a kind passerby, like the people he meets along the way. It's just, there's so much to say. There's so much to say. Okay, Mia Goth. Wow. Hey, and can I say, wow. I haven't seen, what's the famous one Mia Goth is in? That's like her famous role. Pearl, yeah. Maxine, X. Oh my God, she's gonna be in the Odyssey. Don't get me started on the fucking Odyssey. What's the fucking one where she's in the blue dress? You know the one I'm talking about? She's in the blue dress and it's one of her famous, maybe it's Maxine. I don't know. Anyway, I've never seen her before. And I'm woman enough to admit that. She blew me away in this movie. She blew me away. I believed every word that came out of her mouth. I believed every word. She played softness so well, but also very articulate, very sure of herself, very real. The use of color with her, so smart. She is always either in this really vibrant teal or green. We also see, which was gag, and I read this after the fact and I was like, God! We know that Guillermo del Toro is a super fan of Frankenstein, like addicted to it, obsessed with it. In the scene where Elizabeth is her name, where Elizabeth's getting married, Mia Goth's character, her wedding dress resembles the Bride of Frankenstein's dress that is it's almost like bandage wrapping around the arms. And it's just so good. It's so good, dude. Her hair, the feathers, it felt very... What I love about his costume design is it feels very period piece, but it also feels very fantastical. It feels whimsical and fairy tale, and it's like a bit drag. It's a bit drag. I wouldn't say it's campy, but it's definitely like a bit over the top, which I love because I'm of the opinion, I'm on the side of the table that's like, this is a movie. Okay, this isn't a historical documentary. This isn't a historical retelling. This is a creatively curated personal view of the story of Frankenstein. So if that version is very whimsical and very, the costuming, the set design, the fucking ship, I'm just like, I cannot believe it. It's the best movie ever. And did I say that about Elvis when it came out too? Yeah. I wonder, like, if I rewatch Frankenstein in 6 months, I think I'm going to feel the same way. This movie, it moved me. It moved me. I don't know. Because you know those type of movies where at the end, it's almost like fuck the screen. It should just be a mirror. Like metaphorically, it is a mirror. And this feels kind of like, all right, we get it, Queen. Hey, Queen, we get it. But it does, like these stories, any story, like Picture of Dorian Gray, or what did I just read? Babel. Like these stories, genuinely pick anything where at the end of it, you are left feeling with the question of what am I? Who am I? Is this what I want to be? Is this what I want to emit? What I want to reflect back to the world? Like any story that holds a mirror to humanity and the cruelty and kindness of humanity. And how do those two, it's oil and water. And we are so complex and we're so fucking hypocritical. All of us, every single one of us. And it's like, how can all of that so perfectly fit within the 8 pounds that the human head is? Like, it's amazing. I sat in the theater afterward. I saw it with Stanley and I was just sobbing. And I was like, I can't believe it was so well done. Like, I genuinely, okay, let me move on. Damn, let me move on. Okay, this was a question I had that, of course, we're going to kind of dive into. Is reanimation possible? Now, don't laugh. Don't laugh because you'd Google it too. And you'd Google it too. And I'm going to Google it. This is from palatinate.org.uk. It's not just on a dreary night in November that science fiction can come close to reality. Mary Shelley's most famous novel, Frankenstein, depicts a man so obsessed with life and death that he tries to make life from the remains of cadavers. The endeavors Shelley envisioned may not be so far from modern-day scientific accomplishment. From organ transplants to the restoration of activity to dead brains, the question on everyone's thoughts is, will it ever be possible to create Frankenstein's creature? In 2019, the concept of reanimating life was taken to be something close to reality when scientists from the Yale University School of Medicine were able to revive function on a cellular level in 32 pig brains. What? The pig brains were acquired from animals who were already deceased, and the restoration was assisted using a machine, BrainX, which encouraged fluids and oxygen to flow back through the cells. BrainX acts as an artificial pump, supplying the brain cells with a fluid similar to blood. But how far dead do you have to be? Also, similar to blood? Why wouldn't you just use real blood? The team, man, okay. Because here's the deal, I ain't no scientist. I don't know what they're doing over there with them pigs. They ain't putting shit in the pig brain. I really don't know. I know some people who got a pig brain. Shit. Most of them got a painter between their legs, too. Shit. They got a pig dick for brains. Scientists at Yale still insisted this is not a living brain. And while this is still a far call from the assemblage of multiple body parts into a new being, it does allow multiple avenues of research. There are applications for the treatment of heart attack sufferers and the study of brain disorders and brain diseases. A central theme of Frankenstein is morality. And, as with any groundbreaking research, the reanimation of the brain cells does raise ethical questions on the definition of death and the extent to which BrainX could be used to restore brain activity, as well as the use of animals in their research. Yeah, that's a whole talk amongst yourselves with that. You know what I mean? With like the mice and the pigs and the rats and the cats, and it's like, is it ethical? Is it in the name of science? What do you do with animal rights activists? Would it rather be on a human cadaver? Is it ethical if a human in death or not in death consents or does not consent to being used as a scientific prop? And what about the people who do consent? How would their family members feel about that? I mean, there's so many gray areas. The Yale team insists that they are not attempting to restore consciousness in dead brains, and took steps to prevent this too. Instead, their focus is on investigating the brain's activities and structure. The reanimation of these cells is still a far call from the creature Mary Shelley imagined. This is not the first time scientists have tried to preserve tissue after death. At the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research, Alexis Carrel worked on maintaining small tissue samples in petri dishes by supplying them with oxygen and nutrients. He was even rumored to have kept a chick's heart tissue alive after death. The focus of Carrel's work was investigating a way to grow organs artificially for transplantation. Whoa! A concept that is even beyond the creativity of Frankenstein, but today is very much a reality. Teclissenbet Bayan was the first man to receive a windpipe transplant grown from stem cells in 2011. Why did I not know this? I feel like this would have been a global... The creation of new organs from stem cells is not the same as reanimating dead cells. The Franken concept of creating from nothing is an ever-growing field. Could these grown organs ever be considered the same as those we are born with? Or are we just creating many new variations of ourselves? So, while the answer to the question, are we able to create Frankenstein's creature, is still a strong no, the reality of distinguishing between the nature of life and death is not so clear-cut in biology. Cells, tissues, and organs are just one part of the equation of creating life, and the part they play in conscious and sentience is just as debatable as when Shelley first questioned it in 1818. It is uncertain if other cells could similarly be revived after death, but if brain cells are only the start, it is impossible to say what other organs could be revived long after the tissue has died. I just saw something on God's internet that was some famous composer has hooked up some of his brain tissue to like musical instruments. And I'm not sure what exactly the science is there. And of course, it's all kind of gimmicky, but essentially forever he will be creating music. His cells will create music. And it's in some art gallery. Composer who, here we go, artificial brain. In Australia, a team of artists and scientists have resurrected the US composer Alvin Lucier. It raises a storm of questions about AI and authorship, and it's also incredibly beautiful. This is crazy, guys. In a darkened room, a fractured symphony of rattles, hums, and warbles bounces off the walls, like an orchestra tuning up in some parallel universe. But there's not a musician in sight. If you look closely, there's a small fragment of a performer, albeit one without a pulse. Whoever wrote this is so dramatic. In the center of the room, visitors hover around a raised plinth, craning to glimpse the brains behind the operation. Under a magnifying lens sit two white blobs, like a tiny pair of jellyfish. Together, they form the lab-grown mini-brain of the late U.S. musician Alvin Lucier, composing a posthumous score in real time. Lucier was a pioneer of experimental music who died in 2021, but here in the Art Gallery of Western Australia, he's been resurrected with cutting-edge neuroscience. First, his white blood cells were reprogrammed into stem cells. Then, led by Hodgetts, the team transformed the cells into cerebral organoids, clusters of neurons that mimic the human brain. What are we talking about? Hey, what are we talking about? The revivification team used custom technology to bring the work to life. Lucier's organoids were grown onto a fine mesh of 64 electrodes, developed with a German bioengineer, allowing neural signals to be captured from multiple layers, much like a developing brain. They then adapted an open-source platform to interpret this activity and generate sound, turning the artificial brain into a live, responsive performer. Importantly, Lucier's organoids don't just produce sound, they also receive it. Microphones in the gallery pick up ambient noise, including human voices and the resonant tones of the plates, and that audio data is converted into electrical signals and fed back into the brain. We're very interested to know whether the organoid is going to change or learn over time. Organoid? This is freaking me out! The project raises timely, ethical, and philosophical questions, about biology, artificial intelligence, and authorship. But according to the team, revivification is an art first and science second. What? Where does creativity lie? As cultural workers, we are really interested in these big questions, but this work is not giving the answers. Instead, we want to invite conversations. Can creativity exist outside of the human body? And is it even ethical to do so? You want my opinion? Sorry, do you want my opinion? No. Creativity doesn't exist outside of the human body in the sense that we're talking about it, as in a creation, not as in nature. Nature is its own creation. Nature is its own beast, its own entity. I don't involve nature and natural processes like bird song and the growing of a flower. I don't consider those things to be creativity. Okay, because that it is, but something divine. Okay, that's something not of a human. This is of a human. Music, as they're talking about it, everything involved in this has to do with human science, humans harnessing science. And in that sense, if we're talking about human creativity, no, this is not creativity. This is science. Because there wasn't a person behind it who translated their idea into this. However, someone had the idea to do this. So I guess it's creative in that sense, but is it art? I guess everything's art. Damn, what the fuck? Can creativity exist outside of the human body? I'm going to take a hard stance and say no. Even though there are caveats and there are asterisks and there are exceptions. And you know what else I saw recently? Something said, it's not a rule if there's an exception to the rule. Shut the fuck up, ho! You're pissing me off. You're pissing me off. Because rules... Now I'm worked up. Now the Red Bull's talking. Now the monk fruit's got me gapping. There are rules to society because that's how we qualify everything in life. Rules, consequences, rewards. That's how we compartmentalize things. It's how society functions. It's how we're kept in line. It's how we keep out trouble, which is an impossible task, okay? But it is close to achievable, okay? If we don't have a risk and reward and consequences system, things like prison, things like punishment, things like rewards, then there is no society. There's no civilization. You know what I mean? There's no social, not hierarchy in the sense of like that kind of hierarchy, but like the things we need and the things that are important. Security, all of these things. Like, I think that in that sense, I don't know. Creativity exists outside of the human body. Who fucking knows? Who fucking knows? Is it ethical to do so? I'm going to also say no with a caveat. Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. That bullshit of it's not a rule if there's an exception. Let's read about that. Okay, we're on Reddit. r/explain it like I'm 5. What do people mean by the exception that proves the rule? If you claim that an exception to a rule exists, that must mean you accept the rule itself also exists. If you put up a sign saying no parking on Tuesday, then you are tacitly acknowledging that parking is permitted other days. Okay, period. Okay, so I saw some rage bait shit online. It fucking rage baited me and it got me. An exception to the rule doesn't disqualify the rule. We have to have the rule. Here we go. In 1984, this is what some Reddit user says. In 1984, Orwell occasionally mentions that nothing is illegal in Oceania because there are no laws. Your example is the reason why. If Big Brother made a rule prohibiting parking on Tuesdays, it might carry an implication that parking was allowed on the other days. But if no parking law exists, then parking is neither legal nor illegal, and the party can arrest you for parking on any day for any reason they choose. To build on this, the common use can still be viewed this way. In this case, the rule would be parking is allowed. Technically, no parking on Tuesday is an exception that disproved that the rule is always absolutely true, but does prove that outside of that exception, a general rule exists. Period, and period. That makes sense to me. That's completely valid. Technically, no parking on Tuesday is an exception that disproved that the rule is always absolutely true, but does prove, outside of that exception, a general rule exists. That's what I'm trying to get at, is that we need general rules that are evergreen, but there are moments when it doesn't apply. Sure. Back at. Okay, anyway. What the fuck was I talking about? Off the monk fruit Red Bull, I am philosophical. I am thinking. And y'all don't want me to start thinking. My big beluga whale brain, it's pulsing. I'm sending out sonar. I'm sending out echolocation with my fucking beluga whale brain. And that's scary. Okay? Don't get me on my sonar. Okay, you know what? Another question that I consider a lot. You know what I consider a lot is, are they the villain or are they just misunderstood? Right? Is Victor Frankenstein the villain? Is Frankenstein's monster the villain? Neither of them are. Well, Victor Frankenstein is Victor. Here's the takeaway, right? The classic kind of cliche, only because so many artistic endeavors have landed at this conclusion that is a bit cliche and a bit corny, of like, the monster was Victor all along. The real monster wasn't the creation, it was the creator. Right? It's kind of cliche, it's kind of corny, it's kind of like, like rip off the mask at the end. It was him all along, like that kind of thing. However, I personally, because maybe I'm a traditionalist, I think that plot point, that conclusion to a story is evergreen and it stands because humans are monsters. We are capable of such unbelievable cruelty, right? it's important to acknowledge that. And if that's the first time, if watching a movie or reading a book like Frankenstein is the first time that you kind of have this realization dawns on you, then sure, it's fine. It's like, okay. I think there are much deeper conclusions from Frankenstein than that, but it's a good one. It's a good baseline. Any retelling of Frankenstein has to nail that. And Guillermo did it so well. So well. Okay. I think I've pretty much yapped y'all's fucking ear off about this damn movie. It's so good. And I think that the idea of a villain in a movie like this, the real villain it's up to personal interpretation, but generational trauma might be the real villain. The human instinct occasionally to inflict pain, like that's the villain. Like us warring with our own emotions. Who is the villain? This alter ego in you sometimes that might take over or might have these nasty impulses that you are constantly yanking the chain back on. You know, it's like Hades. What's the monster with the dog with the 3 heads? Dog with 3 heads. Cerberus. I got a Cerberus in my beluga whale brain, bro. This dog, I'm yanking the chain back. I'm like, that's not me. That cannot be what rears its ugly head. That cannot be how I face the world. But sometimes it comes out and I cannot control my own you know what I mean? Like, it's so difficult to explain, but I think that's the villain, is we're at war with ourselves. You know, I think that humans are the monsters. That's kind of an easy conclusion. I think it's a bit more intricate than that. Are y'all rocking with me? Y'all get what I'm saying? All right. Let's do songs of the week. I actually have a playlist of the week, and I found this on TikTok. It's called Space Age Lounge, Vintage Cocktail, Bossa, Mambo, Muzak, and Jazz. It's by Hunter John Tree. This playlist, fantastic. Really, really, really great. Great to dissociate to. Great to just think about nothing. I'm kind of over at the moment, as I wait for Rosalia's album, as I wait for looks, I really don't care to listen to other music. I really don't give a fuck. I put on Fontaine's DC the other day and I was like, not right now. Not right now, Gran. I can't do it right now. I love them, but music with words, I'm not really doing it right now. I listen to a lot of, shout out, by the way, to KUSC FM. That's my favorite FM radio station. And I think it's on iHeart. I listen to that shit all the time. It's just classical music. I listen to it all the time. It actually really helps me. I don't know when I hit the age where I'm like, this shit's awesome. This shit is so awesome. I love classical music. I listen to it all the time. As I wait for Rosalia's album, genuinely, that is the only piece of musical art that I really am like, it's all I can think about right now. Very important to me. This playlist has been helping as well, because it's just like bossa nova, mambo, whatever. Guys, the Broski Report is available ad-free on Patreon, if you give a fuck, okay? And some of you guys like the ads, and I shout out to you. Shout out to you guys, okay? But if you would like an ad-free experience, go over to Patreon. You'll get every episode moving forward ad-free, and it's a beautiful opportunity. We also have merch, and guys, something special is dropping soon. For the holidays. Happy holidays. Broski.shop for that. We have an official Broski Nation playlist on Spotify. Go check that out. Broski Report playlist. And that's pretty much, I mean, you guys know what's going on here. If you've made it this far, we're like 113 episodes deep. If you don't know what's going on here, it's too late. It's too late for you. We're talking about my swollen beluga whale brain and Cerberus, Hades' 3-headed dog, okay? I love you guys. Thank you for letting me yap about the things that I deeply care about and for exploring these ethical non-questions. I really appreciate it. I'll catch you guys next week. Be good, and bye-bye.